Today I spent some time playing Service Please. It's an early access service management sim released in March 2026, priced at just under £8 and developed by Dynamic Dice. The developers describe it as a growing simulation experience with adjustable difficulty, random events, sandbox features and future mod support. So let's break it down properly using the SimShack 7-pillar review system. There are moments where the simulation idea works very well, managing customer flow, reacting to tasks, juggling priorities. That all creates a genuine sense of being on shift. Trying to stay efficient becomes one of the more interesting and fun aspects of the game, but realism fractures fairly quickly. Some interactions feel simplified, certain systems lack logical feedback, and progression sometimes feels game-driven rather than simulation-driven. It never completely loses its identity, but it also never fully convinces you that you're operating a believable service environment. My main gripe with the game was, for just 30 seats, that's 30 people's food, it wanted me to have 5 chefs and 6 waiting staff. That is massively overkill, and it just kind of crumbled the illusion of realism from that point on. Audio does the job. The UI sounds are clear, environmental feedback does exist, and the overall soundscape supports the gameplay, I suppose. However, there's very little in terms of voice performance or character presence that makes the experience feel functional rather than immersive. Nothing is bad exactly, but very little is memorable. Oh, except for the music, which is pretty terrible. When you begin to turn a profit and you're trying to stay ahead of incoming tasks while still growing and expanding the business, that is when the game can be surprisingly engaging. Efficiency becomes the hook. Short-term goals help drive momentum, but immersion breaks when the clarity drops. Random events, unclear consequences or repetitive task loops can turn the engagement into mild frustration. But it's one of those experiences where you can see the potential clearly, but you can also see all of the missing layers. There is fun to be had here, trying to optimize the performance of your team and growing and expanding your business premises, handling it to increase the incoming pressure. As you grow and become more popular, you have more customers, and that increases the amount of dirty plates that you have to wash up and services that you have to deal with. There's no adjustable difficulty system at the moment, but that's something that's coming along with the sandbox. And however, without deeper mechanics and stronger progression rewards or more meaningful player choices, I think the gameplay risks becoming a bit shallow over extended sessions. It's enjoyable, yes, but it's not deep enough. It doesn't have the economic ring to it or the level of realism for someone to really get their teeth into and really sort of work over the numbers and keep things, ticking over. One thing I did like, there were quite a few things I did like, but one of the things I liked most was that the weather will have a massive impact. 20% more customers, or in snowy conditions, you're looking at 30% less customers. That's something you have to factor into the game. But unfortunately, even when it was snowing, it still looked like you were on a sunny beach in Florida. So it didn't really sell that particularly well. But I have to say, I did appreciate that it was there, and it is still an early access title, so give it time and see what direction it goes in. But definitely, I think it needs more focus on realism. The performance felt absolutely solid. There were no major technical issues which stood out during my gameplay experience. The systems responded well, and stability remained absolutely solid. FPS was up in the 90s permanently, and it never dropped. And that's despite having many hundreds of characters and people walking around on screen. For an early access indie sim, that's a very strong positive. Visually, I quite liked the look of the game. I'd say the graphics were a little bit short of being HD quality, but it's good enough. It sells the experience. The menus are functional. The environments are, well, they are very simple, but they do the job. And the presentation supports the gameplay clarity. I like the animations of the characters. Everything in that regard seemed to be right on point. Although I did notice that a lot of the characters would glitch through the wall, as would most of the plants. And they would also walk straight through, say, a cooker or a table if that enabled them to get to a location they wanted to quicker. In addition to that, there were some weird little quirks where I had tables inside and I had a sort of an open outside area, and I noticed sometimes that the waiting staff would go outside and pass the dinner to the customer through the window and take the payment the same way. I don't really know why that was, but obviously it's one of those early access bugs. Nothing really terrible to mention, just made me laugh. Service Please feels like a good early foundation. There's genuine enjoyment in the core loop. The price point makes it easy to recommend cautiously, and the roadmap shows that it has ambition. But right now, it's lacking depth. It's definitely lacking immersion, and as a long-term realism project, it still needs a lot of development. It could be a very, very realistic restaurant simulation if it chose to be that, but I don't think the developers quite want that to be a thing. I could be wrong, because there are many, many elements that are quite realistic here. I think the price point of the food is very realistic, but then it's sort of being backed up by these little mini games or little mini quests where you have to put a certain number of plants in order to receive $1,000. Things like that. That's where the realism starts to step away and it becomes more gameplay-like. So you can't really get into the nitty-gritty and run a restaurant, which is kind of what I was looking for. But having said that, if you're looking for something sort of casual that you don't really need to work very hard at, then this is probably right up your street. There's a lot to come. The roadmap suggests that a lot more is going to be introduced, so maybe just keep your eye on it and see how things turn out.
In a world of pixels where dreams collide, Sim UK reviews the honest guide. From racing cars to flying high, ultimate realism, take your wings to the sky. We talk about the truth and keep it real. Fact-based reviews, it's all in the field. No hype, just clarity, we break it down. Realistic simulators, the talk of the town. Real talk, Sim UK, we're here to say we keep it smooth, never lead you astray. News and previews and interviews on site. Set up guides to take your game to new heights. Honesty is the best policy, they say. Always tell the truth in every way. Yeah. From the cockpit view to the racetrack lanes, we dive deep into the code, explore the veins. Ultimate simulations that make you feel alive. Realistic graphics, man, we help you thrive. Each guide is crafted with love and care. No false impressions, just a breath of fresh air. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned pro, Sim UK reviews is the way to go. Real talk, Sim UK, we're here to say we keep it smooth, never lead you astray. News and previews, tutorials on site. Set up guides to take your game to new heights. Honesty is the best policy, they say. Always tell the truth in every way. Yeah, we're diving in, no shortcuts here. Honest updates, that's what you'll hear. Simulations that sparkle, realism that shines. With every review, you'll know what's divine. From the mechanics to the sound of the game, Sim UK's the name. Remember the fame, we won't steer you wrong. We keep it tight, sharing knowledge in the day and the night. Yeah. Got set up guides to make it a breeze, the reviews that unlock with the greatest of ease. Fact-based reviews taking the forefront, realistic simulation we always confront. The challenge is real, embrace what you find. Sim UK reviews just leaves you enlightened. No fluff, just facts, that's our creed. Bringing you the truth, that's how we lead. So come along with us, join the ride. Sim UK reviews, your truth by your side. With every honest word, you'll capture the thrill. Ultimate realism, the peak of the hill. From flying high to racing fast. Sim UK reviews, your knowledge will last. Together we can explore, uncover and learn. Realistic simulation, it's our turn.